the Russians, I believe, have started this newest offensive too early. There was probably pressure to get things going again, but they never had time to reconstitute all their units and try to and to train and prepare for this next phase. And so they are just relying on mass and trying to force people through in these attacks and relying on artillery to take the place of good operational art and tactical leadership. And so to kill that many soldiers, even if that number is inflated twice, if the real number is half of what's reported, that would be because they got caught all bunched up.
And it's time to invite you into our daily briefing room, where one of our leading tactical and strategic minds with years of experience as a general officer at the highest level of military command shares their insights into the current state of the war in Ukraine. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, former commander of US Army Forces in Europe and chair in strategic studies at the Centre for European Policy Analysis. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, Ben, let's begin with a story which has broken in the last few hours. The Russian army has lost almost an entire battalion in Donetsk, 50 vehicles and possibly 1,000 troops. How significant is this, and how on earth did this happen? I mean, how do you lose an entire battalion crossing one river?
Well, of course, it's early hours reporting, but what appears to have happened is that the Ukrainians have done exactly what you should do in the defense. You identify places where Russian forces might have to cross a river in an operation. So you can do this through intercepted communications, but also just through doing good analysis of where the likely places are. And the Russians have not demonstrated very good operational security or concealing their movements. And so the Ukrainians, not only did they figure out where the Russians might be attempting a river crossing, they prepared for it by having artillery ready to shoot at that spot. Because we know if you're doing a river crossing, you have to suppress the other side, you try to obscure observation, and then you begin trying to get across the river. It's a very dangerous operation in ideal circumstances. It looks like the Ukrainians caught them. So a combination of skill, intuition, and real tactical competence.
And as you say there, Ben, it really points to a real sense of strategic prowess with the Ukrainians compared to a real weakness with the Russian army.
Well, what you've got, again, the Russians, I believe, have started this newest offensive too early. There was probably pressure to get things going again, but they never had time to reconstitute all their units and try to and to train and prepare for this next phase. And so they are just relying on mass and trying to force people through in these attacks and relying on artillery to take the place of good operational art and tactical leadership. And so to kill that many soldiers, even if that number is inflated twice, if the real number is half of what's reported, that would be because they got caught all bunched up. And this is what untrained, undisciplined units do. If you've got good sergeants out there, you're forcing the soldiers to stay dispersed, to stay concealed until it's time to move forward. And it sounds to me that they got caught all bunched up. And again, the Ukrainians for the last 8 years, I mean, they have been getting better and better and better. British, American, Canadian trainers working with them. They've developed what we would consider a more Western style of command and control, decentralized command leaders at the lower levels making decisions, having authority, the opposite of the Russian side. And this is where it pays off. But I would also say we're starting to see now the equipment that the West has been providing is finally making it into the hands of the Ukrainians. They have no trouble learning how to use new equipment. They're very tech savvy, and we need to be pouring it on now, pushing everything that they need.
Ben, I just want to move on to another really big story which is dominating the news cycle. You were leader of US forces in Europe, and we have the news that Finland and potentially Sweden are very keen to join NATO, and that NATO is very keen to have them. How will this change the complexion of the alliance? What does this mean for NATO?
Instant improvement. These are two countries, obviously very strong and clear statements today from the president and prime minister of Finland. I hope that we'll hear similar statements coming from the Swedish government in the next few days. I'm in Stockholm right now, as a matter of fact, at the Swedish Defense University for a forum. I was in Finland 3 weeks ago for a NATO training course there. These are two strong democracies. These are two strong, resilient societies. They both bring quality militaries, not large, but quality, modernizing. Finland is purchasing, I think, 64 F-35s. They have a mobilization system that can put about 200,000 troops in the field in very short notice, which you would expect from a country that lives next door to Russia. They're serious about their business. And obviously the geometry of the whole eastern flank of NATO now changes dramatically in our favor. Security in the Baltic Sea, much improved. And so there's so many good things coming out of this. I can't wait to start seeing Finnish and Swedish officers working in NATO headquarters and regular staff positions. They're going to be security providers, not consumers. And this just adds to the list of huge strategic blunders by Vladimir Putin. This only happened because of him.
And I mean, many people are very, very pleased about this news. Obviously, we can hear that you are, but of course, many are very upset, particularly in Russia. Russia is threatening some kind of retaliation. They have not specified what form that might take. What would you envisage Russian retaliation looking like, Ben?
Well, again, the people who are serious and thinking people in Russia, and of course there are lots of them, they have only the Kremlin to blame. I mean, this would have never happened if but for Russia's aggression against its neighbors. And even so Finns and Swedes can look at this and realize if he's willing to butcher his fellow Slavs, then nobody else on the periphery is actually going to be safe. And so I think this was a practical decision by eminently practical people, the Finns, and I hope the Swedes will follow suit. What will Putin do? Of course, they've threatened the use of nuclear weapons for years and years and years. I always take those serious, but I see it as very unlikely. The last thing he wants is a conflict with NATO. And I thought it was important that the British Prime Minister went to both countries and said that you can count on UK during this transition period. The best response I saw, though, was a few weeks ago when the Kremlin decided to roll out some nuclear missiles on tractor trailers and drove them close to the Finnish border as if to say, hey, don't forget we can do this. The Finnish response were 10 farmers on tractors that drove straight to the Russian border and said, well, we can do this. And I just thought, what a classic response. And this is how you stand up to bullies.
It's a great story. Listen, Ben, it's been really great speaking with you. Thanks very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for the privilege.
That's Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, former commander of US Army Forces in Europe and chair in strategic studies at the Centre for European Policy Analysis.